Hey guys, welcome. All right, so the way this class is set up is that we make the initial dough together and you will be able to get these done for a delicious brunch tomorrow morning. And I have the time breakdown on the recipe, kind of letting you know like when those long rest periods are so you can kind of schedule that out and do some time management. Always a good skill to have. All right, so we are going to start with making the dough together. I've already made about 5 other batches of dough. So I'm going to make the dough with you again, and I will show you all the additional steps, okay? All right, so stand mixers are gonna be your best friend for this. If you don't have a stand mixer with a dough hook, it's okay. You can use, you can knead this dough by hand. Just be ready to like have a bit of an arm workout, okay? It is gonna have to require some muscles, but it is totally possible. If you have a stand mixer, get your dough hook out. So we need your stand mixer bowl or like a large bowl. We have 4 cups of flour going in there, so make sure your bowl can hold that. The first step though is proofing our yeast. So you notice there's 2 milk measurements, 1 cup of cold milk and a half cup of warm milk, all right? So I have a half cup of warm milk in a liquid measuring cup. And to that, we're gonna add our sugar and our yeast. We're adding the sugar just to help feed that yeast and get that yeast activated and make sure it's alive. So half cup of milk, 1/4 cup of sugar, just plain old white sugar, and that's going into there. And then you're gonna get your 1 packet of yeast. If you're proofing it, if you have a fast rising yeast, you don't have to worry about that. Add that into your milk. All I do is just kind of swirl it. You want to make sure that that yeast is all wet, but you don't need to aggressively stir it or anything like that. So you're just going to swirl that a bit and set it aside. What we're looking for, guys, is we want to see a change. So either we're going to see bubbles start happening, or it's going to kind of get a bit like gelatinous, like it's going to kind of grow a little bit and just look extra gross. And that's what we want to see happen. If after a few minutes you see no change at all, then wait a few more minutes. And after a few more minutes, if there's no change, declare it dead and start over again with another packet of yeast. All right, yeast is proofing. Now we get out our bowl and we're putting our flour in here, right? I'm using just an all-purpose flour. We're doing 4 cups in here. If you're weighing out your flour, that's about 500 grams of flour. So go ahead and spoon 4 cups into your large bowl. All right. When you get your flour in your bowl, next up is we're going to be adding our salt. 2 teaspoons plus 1 pinch. Second one in there, and then a pinch. A little bit more. Easy. We're good. All right. In our bowl, guys, all we have are 4 cups of flour and 2 and a pinch teaspoons of salt. Go ahead and check on your yeast. Make sure you're seeing some kind of reaction. You should see something by now, at least some little bubbles or something like that. If you haven't, it's okay. We still have a few more minutes before we have to give up on it, okay? Also going in this bowl, guys, it's gonna be 3 tablespoons of softened butter. It's going into here. I usually kind of actually break it up just a little bit to like chunks as I put it in there. We're good on that. Hopefully your yeast has reacted a bit. I'm going to show you what mine looks like. I have some bubbles. It's just gotten thicker and chunky, and that's what I want to see happen. If your yeast has reacted, I'm going to get the dough hook going. So I'm going to turn my mixer on, just like on 2, and then I'm going to slowly kind of add in my warm milk, my half cup of milk, and the 4th cup of sugar and the yeast into there. Make sure you have a spoon handy or a finger and scoop out all that sugar that's going to be stuck on the bottom, okay? So make sure all that sugar and all that yeast gets in there. After that kind of is gone for like, let's just call it like 10 seconds, guys, not long at all. You're then going to measure out 1 cup of cold milk and add that in. If as you're adding it, it seems like your dough's getting pretty wet, hold off on adding that full amount until it's had a chance to work through. The dough we're looking for is going to be a soft dough. It should pull away from the sides of the bowl, okay, but it shouldn't be super sticky. You're going to knead it for about like 5 to 7 minutes if you're using a stand mixer, and again, about like level 2. If you're doing it by hand, you're going to be kneading it probably for more like 10 minutes or so to really get that worked in. So again, I'm adding my yeast in the mixture, scooping all that sugar in there. All right, so just getting that going, and then I'm going to get my stand mixer on and slowly add the rest of my 1 cup of milk. I'll be right back. Once your dough has come together and it's not sticky to your hands, all that, I've started just go ahead and forming my dough into my 12 by 12 inch square now. So you have either on hand, if you're like me, you have a tape measure that you keep in the kitchen, or a ruler, or another tip is a lot of rolling pins are going to be like around 14 inches is what most rolling pins are. So you can just kind of do a little bit shorter than the length of a rolling pin. But you want a square, and you want those corners. We're not talking like a weird oval here, guys. We're talking about corners with a square. So you're going to want to have something underneath your dough that will make it easy for you to lift it up and transport it, okay? So parchment paper or a baking mat or some saran wrap. All right, so you are, and again, like for this part too, you can use a rolling pin to roll it out to your square, or sometimes I'll just even use my hands to manipulate that into the right dimensions. So you are doing a 12 by 12 inch square, your dough. All right, checking with a ruler. You have a ruler too. You can kind of use that to help make your edges and beat your dough. So 12 inches by 12. Try to get that thickness, you guys, to be even across your dough. All those things will end up making your life easier in checking those corners. Once you have your square, you do want to cover it with saran wrap, or if you don't use saran wrap, any type of wrap that will prevent it from drying out. So you're going to cover it up, and you're going to put it in your fridge for 4 to 5 hours. All right, so this is going in there, and you don't have to do anything with it until later today or tomorrow. If for some reason you're like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot, and it's been 10 hours or a day, it's also okay. All these 5 hour times can actually be stretched longer, okay? So covering this with saran wrap. So this is going in my fridge for about 5 hours. For the butter layer, you need 3 sticks of butter. You're gonna put in a bowl. If you're using a stand mixer, the butter should be like super soft and melted. You can pull it out maybe like an hour or so before you use it. All right, 3 sticks of butter and 3 tablespoons of flour. And just regular all-purpose flour is all you need for that. Okay. Whew. Get my workout in during these classes. I did squats for measuring the milk. And yes, for your 3 tablespoons, you can just scoop into there, it's fine. You don't have to like spoon it into your tablespoon. That's a bit excessive. All right, so I have that in there. I'm just gonna do it by hand real quick. My butter's plenty soft. You're mixing that all together, and then, all right, I normally use my glass bowls, but I wasn't planning to do this by hand. And then we're gonna spread that out into an 8 by 8 inch square, making those corners nice and tight, same as our dough. All right, so I have my butter, and I'm gonna spread it out into an 8 by 8 inch square. And just kind of using the spoon to quickly do it, get it in the right shape. And then I will get my ruler out and start knocking it out. All right, so check your measurements. You want 8 inches. There we go. and get that layer as even as possible. Then you're gonna cover that with saran wrap and pop it in the fridge. All right, so I'm gonna move this out of the way. Okay, so that butter is going into your fridge, guys, with your dough. You're gonna pull it out about 30 minutes or so, 15, 30 minutes before you pull your dough out, okay? And the reason being is you want your butter to not be super cold so it doesn't crack on you as you're doing your lamination process. So that butter is going in the fridge, and I just have mine like this, and it's chilling for like, if you're doing 5 hours for the dough, then it's gonna be like 4 hours and 30 minutes for your butter, okay? So I shaped my butter on parchment paper, and I had it in the fridge. First thing I do is I check my measurements. So I kind of make sure that still the corners are still nice and formed together, and same with my dough. Okay. And then we're going to take our butter layer you're going to put it as a diamond, so it's going to be like a diamond on top, and then you're going to peel off that parchment, which is there, and then you're going to take your dough and you're going to fold in the corners over that butter layer, making sure that that butter is completely enclosed into that dough. And then seal, pinch the edges like so. Look at that. Now we're gonna start laminating our dough. The lamination process, that's what gives you those layers. I'm gonna laminate the dough 3 times. Measurements for rolling it out. Again, the reason you should always have measuring tape in your kitchen. 20 inches long, okay, by 10 inches wide is what I'm going for. A little harder with the ruler, but you can figure that out too. Rolling pin. I use the French style rolling pin. Even if I have them with handles, I always put my hands in the middle. I just like it to have more control that way. So the first lamination is 10 inches wide by 20 inches long. And I'm constantly checking those corners. If I'm using a ruler, I can kind of use that to help format, or use your rolling pin and knock that together. We're going to do this 3 times, and there's going to be some rest periods between the second and third one. During the first 2, no rest. Once you get 20 inches long and 10 inches wide with nice tight corners, you're going to take the top of your dough and you're going to fold it halfway down and fold it in thirds, okay? Take a letter, fold it to the middle, take the bottom, fold it up, okay? Keep those corners, and then you're going to turn it 90 degrees and have it so like you could open up and read a book. An absolutely delicious butter-filled dough book, okay? So you turn 90 degrees, and then you do the same process once more, inches by 20. So after you do it again by your 10 by 20, you're gonna take the top half, fold down, bottom half, fold up, turn it like a book. Take some saran wrap, wrap it all up, and it goes in the fridge for 1 hour. So it's rested for an hour. You're going to then pull it out. You're going to do it one more time. All right, so we are rolling out. Again, you might have some air bubbles and they just kind of pop on their own. You're rolling that out 10 inches wide, 20 inches long. All right, so your third time of laminating, and I'm folding it down halfway to the middle and up from the bottom, turning it so I can read my favorite book. I'm wrapping it back up in the same plastic wrap, and I'm putting this in my fridge for another 5 hours, 4 hours minimum, or overnight. Okay, I'm gonna put this in my fridge. 5 hours later, you're gonna pull it out. Now, the next step is you're only gonna work with half your dough at the time. Only work with half at a time. So I've cut my dough in half. So all I have then is 1/2 at a time. The other thing you wanna do is I cut a thin layer of dough off these sides, of all the sides. I want all of the sides to have exposed layers so I can really make sure I get all that awesome like flakiness. Like a dough scraper, okay? And you just want to kind of cut off just a little bit off each side. All right, so all layers exposed. And then we get to roll it out one more time into our final rectangle. All right, so I'm rolling this out one more time. Here's my rolling pin. All right, this time I am gonna do 18 inches by 12 inches. The reason I'm doing 12 inches is because I'm going to be dividing my dough into thirds. And so I'm picking a number that I can easily divide in thirds. And again, I'm gonna make sure I keep my corners. All right, once I have that rolled out, I'm going to then have like my ruler or something so I can check my marks, and I'm going to make a cut. 3 4-inch cuts here. I'm gonna go ahead and like use a pizza cutter and make 3 long strips. You're gonna then cut across in half at 9 inches. So again, our whole length is 18. So then I'm going to find 9 inches. If you want bigger croissants, you need bigger rectangles. So you can kind of play around with the measurements you want. You're then gonna take your pizza cutter, knife, whatever floats your boat, and you're gonna make triangles out of each of these rectangles. All right. Now, if you are wanting to not do your classic crescent-shaped croissants, leave it as a rectangle. Take my chocolate. You can use any type of chocolate. You can use chocolate chips, that's fine. Again, I'm using Ghirardelli. I'm gonna put some down on here. And I'm gonna kind of fold and make some folds like this, 3 folds, and have more of a rectangular croissant. But if you're going with your classic crescent-shaped croissant, you have your triangle, but you're gonna make a little slit in this part of the triangle, okay? And then you're going to take these ends, okay? So it's a little easier for you to see. And you're going to start rolling them and kind of keeping these curving as you go. Roll, 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 roll. Tuck the edge under and turn it like that, okay? The next step, you've made all your delightful, cute croissants. And if you want to make them bigger, you're making bigger rectangles, all right? You're then going to let them proof for about 90 minutes or an hour. So about an hour to 90 minutes, there's wiggle room there. You're going to let them proof on some parchment paper, and you're going to cover them with like a large like towel that's not like going to have a bunch of fuzzies on it, or your beeswax paper or saran wrap. And you are going to let them proof for 60 to 90 minutes. You know when they're done proofing when you touch them, okay? So you'll like take your finger and you'll press down, and your finger should make an indentation and it should bounce back up, okay? So as soon as you press down and you see it kind of bounce back up, it's good to go. Okay? Then you put it in your fridge for about an hour. In the fridge they go for another hour, and then you're gonna bake them. What temp, you say? I will tell you. I bake mine usually about 400 degrees for about 15 minutes, right? You want to get a really nice shine on them, nice golden brown, all right? So that when you open them up, okay, you have all those good, awesome layers inside. Thank you guys so much. Continue to invite your friends. I had a lot of fun with you, and don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions at all. I'll do my best to help you. Thank you guys. Oh, bye.